Hello, coaches. This is Coach Connor coming to you today with a discussion around a double under skill exercise. Now, this is relevant because we see it in today's alpha strength programming. It's week 1, day 4 of the resistance phase for those getting your bearings, but also relevant because this concept, the penguin jump, the exercise we're going to end up talking about, is so, I believe, infinitely valuable in helping athletes understand the concept that is the double under, the limiting factor that is true for so many athletes in the double under, and then ultimately, what do they need to do in order to eventually be able to express the skill at higher and higher relative intensities. So, very first thing here, the penguin jump, no jump rope necessary. All we're doing is jump, tap, tap. And the trick is that we got to ensure that the tap of the hands to the quad occurs at the point while the athlete is airborne, and ideally while they're at the apex of the jump. So visually, demonstration looks like this, where again, the idea is that whilst airborne, the double tap occurs, simulating what will become the jump, spin, spin of the rope. Now, I understand that in a vacuum and just on the surface visually, this movement is extremely underwhelming, right? And it's actually a joke that I make with my classes. You go and do something like this, you're gonna be looking around like, really? This is what's gonna get me better at double unders? But here's why. If we break it down, the double under, a single jump and 2 spins of the rope, very rarely are either of those pieces physiologically a limiting factor for your athletes. And you can actually do this in your classes if you've got opportunity to do so. It's just have people bound in place with a nice upright torso and thinking about driving through the balls of their feet. And then you can assess, okay, are you able to jump repeatedly in a way that you would for your double under? Yes, yes, more likely than not. Then, so it's also kind of silly, but stay with me, and then just ask the same of your athletes. Put your arms down by your sides and spin your wrists twice, rapidly, over and over and over again. And what you're gonna find is that either of those pieces, again, physiologically, are you capable of asking your body to do the things required for the double under? Both of those things are very rarely the limiting factor, or either of those things is very rarely the limiting factor. More likely than not, your athletes can jump, and more likely than not, your athletes can turn their wrists. So if the issue is not physical capacity to express the skill, what's the limiting factor? And that leads us back around to the penguin jump. Because really the issue is not that they're physically not fit enough. It's not that they're physically incapable. It has to do with timing, coordination, and accuracy, all of which are neurological skills. They need to train their brain to understand the movement pattern, and then once they understand the movement and the rhythm that it requires, then they will much more easily be capable of expressing the double under with an actual jump rope in their hands, and then eventually with a jump rope in their hands in Metcons. So again, penguin jump, jump, tap, tap, to develop the rhythm. And then you all, as coaches, when you give people this drill, whether it's inside the context of a class or you give it to them as homework, the biggest thing to watch out for is that over time, athletes are either going to start to rush the double tap or they will drag on the double tap. So that instead of where the taps happen while the athlete's airborne, over time the reps erode into, which, if we think about it, put the jump rope in the hands, becomes representative of either on the first or second spin, the jump rope hitting the feet and the athlete missing or failing their double under. So, again, to recap, penguin jump, tremendously valuable in learning the double under as it helps athletes understand the neurological requirements of the movement: the timing, the coordination, and the accuracy. You do not need a jump rope. And as you see and correct, you as coaches see and correct the penguin jump, watch for the timing. Are athletes staying in rhythm, actually tapping their hands twice to their quads while they're airborne, or is it starting to fall apart? And then if and when it does, go in, provide appropriate visual, verbal, tactile cues to help them get back on track. And then once they feel really good on the penguin jump, I can almost guarantee you, I suppose I can't make any absolute promises, but I can almost guarantee you that that will help them unlock the double under as a movement. If you have questions about any of this, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. As always, I am right in your corner, ready to support wherever I possibly can. Thank you again, always, for the work that you do, and I'm looking forward to the next one.